everybody, it's the Warhipster here, coming at you with another Contrast Plus painting tutorial, and today we are painting an Arkanaut Frigate. Yes, here it is. It's the second largest ship in the fleet, and this one is the Aelsling. Yes, that's Drekki Flynt's ship, specifically. The reason we're painting this is because it's going to be part of Project Spearhead, so I wanted to get his specific ship done, so that's what we're going to do. Now, there aren't that many pictorial references here, so we are kind of making it up a little bit as we go along, so I can only apologise if it's not 100% lore accurate, but we should be all good. I think I've got a good recipe. So, we're going to jump in and we're going to start painting it. Now, we're going to be doing this in a couple of different stages, so there will be a bit of going back and forth, but the first colour we're going to be using is a roughly 2 parts Stormfiend to 1 part Lahmian Medium mix. And we're going to be applying this specifically over the front and this bit here. Now, we're not going to go over the whole of it, but we're just going to start here, like that. And we're then going to start applying this over the top of this section of the ship. Just like this. And then we're going to start bringing it towards the tip as well. Like so. Like that. And then over the top of basically the rest of it, we're going to be applying this mix. Like so. Just tackling it in sections, doing a little bit of brush gymnastics. Just like this. We are going to replicate this on the other side, but for now we just want to start colouring this in over the top of the main cockpit housing. Like this sort of thing. So with that all done on this side and on this side as much as this, what we're now going to do is exactly the same thing again. A roughly 2 parts Lahmian Medium to 1 part Stormfiend mix. And we're going to apply this over the top of all that exact same area. So with that second layer all applied, we're then going to apply our first layer of exactly the same mix, 2 to 1 of Stormfiend and Lahmian Medium, and we're going over the back here, so this part and the same rung as the front. So I'm just going to start on the rung. And just like before, we're going to do 2 layers of this. Like so. And once you get to the back, we're actually going to do the whole of that panel. So with our 2 layers of Stormfiend and Lahmian Medium applied to all of the top parts of the ship, we're not done with the blue, but for now what we're going to do is we're going to take some Black Legion. We're going to apply this over the top of the flooring of the ship. So with that done, we're then going to once again return to Stormfiend, and this time we're not going to thin it down. But what we are going to do now is we're going to apply this over the top of basically the entirety of this turret. Mostly because we forgot to do it earlier, but we also don't need to thin it down for this bit. So with that now done, what we're going to do is we're going to take a roughly 1-to-1 mix of Skeleton Horde and Lahmian Medium. And we're going to be applying this over the top of the rest of the under armour, but also these kind of, well, like the ladders and things on the top of the ship. So we'll start up there. We're just going to be very careful here. Like so. Then, once you've done the outside of one of them, you want to flip it over and come at it from the opposite side. Which I know won't show up very well on camera. This is all part of the brush drum gymnastics. And you just flip it over just to make sure you haven't overlapped too much. sure we haven't overlapped. No, looks like we're good. So that's that bit done. We're going to do that across all 4 sets, but as mentioned, we're also going to be applying this over the top of the remaining part of the hull. So with that then done, we're going to take some Stormfiend once again. And we're going to use this around the gun ports. So with that done, we're still sticking with Stormfiend. However, we are once again back on our 2 parts Stormfiend to 1 part Lahmian Medium mix. And we're going to do 2 layers of this over the top of the kind of like bucket casings of our balloons. So we're just going to start here on this little bit there. Then we're going to start applying it like this. So with that Stormfiend all applied for like the 5th time already at this point, what we're going to do is move on to a different colour. Skeleton Horde. And we're going to be applying this over the top of all of the clothes of all of our crew. With all that Skeleton Horde applied, we're now going to use a different colour. Cygor Brown. And we're going to be using this over the top of all of the leather details on all of the crew. As well as over the top of 2 little straps right at the front of the ship. And so with that then done, we are unfortunately going to once again use some Stormfiend. And we're going to apply this over the top of all of the armour on all of our crew. So with that Stormfiend all applied, I've said that quite a few times now, what we're going to do next is we're going to take some Black Legion and we're going to apply this over the top of these kind of textured funnel pipes, of which there are a few. So with that all done, it is now time to start working on some metallics. I know we haven't done the underside, that's okay, we're still, because we're holding it, you know, that's our little holder bit. So, first colour we're going to be using is some thinned down Iron Warriors, and we're going to be applying this over the top of quite a lot of the kind of detail bits. So, for example, up here on the balloons, we want to apply this over the top of kind of like the sort of, I guess, the mechanical workings of it. So for example, this shutter. Like so. We've got the vent here. We've got the pipes and stuff like that. What we're also going to do is we're going to apply this over the top of the engine housing. like so. The door, barrels of weapons, these hatches and things, the guardrails. There's a whole lot of silver on here. And so with all of that Iron Warriors applied, as you can see, it's a lot of Iron Warriors, what we're now going to do is we're going to take some thinned down Castellax Bronze. And we're going to apply this over the top of, well, pretty much all of the remaining mechanical areas on the ship. So we've got these pipes, for example, that one in there. Which we'll just finish off. Like so. We've got the actual casings of the balloons. Which on areas as large as this will probably require 2 thin coats just to make sure it's really well covered. So with all that Castellax Bronze applied, we're then going to take some thinned down Retributor Armour. And we're going to apply this over the top of these little posts. I can only apologise for the plane that's flying overhead. That sort of thing. We've got the remaining areas on the guardrails. And that sort of thing. We've got the runic plate here on the engine. Like so. And we've got the remaining parts of the cannon. Like that. The portcullises, not portcullises, portholes. Like that. And we got these bits around these weapons as well. One thing I forgot to mention about the Retributor Armour is we were also going to be applying this over the top of things like the face masks and the bits of jewellery here and there on each of the crew. But what we're going to do now, bearing in mind that we've got the rest of the crew to do, is we're going to take some thinned down Leadbelcher. And we're going to be applying this over basically all the remaining metallic details on the crew and on the boat itself. Now this is going to include the little windows and stuff. like that. We do have the odd little bit, and like that, just there. But on these guys, we do have things like the oil can, this little gauge here, the vents, the backpacks, quite a few little details. So with that all done, we've now actually got all of our base coats on the top part of the boat. So what we now need to do is this bottom section. Now, the colour we're going to be using is once again Stormfiend, and we're going to be applying this over the top of the kind of main bulk of these areas. Now, the place to start is going to be right up at this end, and we're just going to start here by just drawing a line going directly across like that, and then we're going to start applying the Stormfiend just like this. So with that Stormfiend all applied, I've actually changed my mind. In order to be able to hold this thing, we do still need to leave the wings, the tip, the rudders with a little bit of paint not done on it yet. So what we are going to do now is we're going to add some thinned down Runelord Brass. And we're going to be applying this over the top of any remaining details on any of the Caradron's backpacks. It's just like we've done on the company and the Endrin riggers. So with that Runelord Brass all applied, apart from this bit, and the two wings, and the bombs on the underside, we are now have got all of our base coats on the model. So what we're going to do is we're going to add some shades. And the first of these is going to be some Tyran Blue. And we're going to be using this over the top of all of our Stormfiend. But what we also have is on the crew themselves, we have the odd little kind of white panel here and there. So we're going to be applying this over the top of that as well as the little kind of rags and towels that they've got stashed at their belts. So with all that Tyran Blue applied, we're then going to take some Nuln Oil. I'm going to use this to shade all of the silver, excluding those windows and portholes. Just like this. And so with that all done, we're then going to take some Guilliman Flesh. I'm going to use this to shade all of the gold, all of the Runelord Brass, and, I said that really weirdly, all of the Runelord Brass. There aren't any Runelord Brass on here. But we're also going to use this to shade the Castellax Bronze. However, we're not going to use this to shade the entirety of the balloons, which have also been painted in Castellax Bronze. We're going to do that slightly differently, just to make things a little bit easier in the long run. I mean, no one wants to do a third layer of Castellax Bronze, am I right? However, for all the other Castellax Bronze details, such as these faces at the front here, we are going to apply this over the top of. So with all that Guilliman Flesh applied, we've then got one last shade to apply, which is going to be some Wyldwood. And what we're going to do here is we're going to use this to recess shade our balloons. So with that all done, our frigate is now what I would call a Warhipster battle ready, apart from the glaringly obvious areas that we haven't done. The face, the wings, and the bits on the bottom. But that's because we're still holding it by that way. So what we're going to do now is we're going to move on and we're going to actually take it to the next level. And we're going to do this by adding some highlights. And the first of these is going to be a dry brush. And the dry brush is going to be some Screaming Skull. I'm going to use this to dry brush all of our bone areas of the hull, looking to just basically catch these edges and rivets. So with that then done, what we're going to do is we're going to take some Lothern Blue and we're going to dry brush this over the top of the blue. However, this is just going to be on the ship. Don't worry about the crew. They're a little bit tiny for this. Just be really gentle. Aiming just for the edges. Still sticking with the dry brushing, what we're going to do is we're going to take some Dawnstone and we're going to gently dry brush this over the top of these soft pipes. You'll be shocked to hear we're doing another dry brush of Ironbreaker. I'm going to use this over the top of all of our large silver areas. We're really looking for kind of vents and panels like that one. And so for our final dry brush, what we're going to do is we're going to take some Canoptek Alloy. I'm going to use this to dry brush the balloons. So with that done, what we're now going to do is we're going to take some thinned down Retributor Armour. And we're going to use this to effectively relayer any wide open spaces in our gold. So we've got these kind of parts of the support struts. Like that sort of thing. However, at this point, we might as well use the thinned down Retributor Armour to paint in the prow. Is it the prow? I think it's the prow. If it is, if it's not, I can only apologise. With that Retributor Armour all applied, excluding the prow, I'm just going with it, what we're going to do is we're going to take some thinned down Liberator Gold. And we're going to use this now to highlight all of the gold. So with all that Liberator Gold applied, what we're now going to do is we're going to once again take some thinned down, well, it's the first time we've thinned it down, but we're going to take some Lothern Blue. I'm going to use this to now highlight the crew's armour. So with that all done, we're now going to finish off the gold of the prow in exactly the same way. So we're going to take some Guilliman Flesh, I'm going to relayer it with Retributor Armour, and then we're going to highlight it with Liberator Gold. Finish off with another good chunk. So with the gold of the face on the prow now done, what we're going to do is we're going to take some thinned down Iron Warriors. And we're going to apply this over top of all of our remaining details. Once all that Iron Warriors is applied, we're then going to take some Nuln Oil. I'm going to use this to shade all of the Iron Warriors. And then, because we've already done it once before, we are going to dry brush it with Ironbreaker. But we won't film that because we've already done it once, so you know what we're doing. So with that done, it's looking a little bit more finished now, isn't it? So what we're going to do is we're going to do one of our last two things, which is to take some Blood Angels Red. I'm going to apply this over the top of any small little lenses. And things like that. However, just to break up the metallics just a little bit, what we are also going to do here with Blood Angels Red is we're going to apply this over the top of the windows on the turret and on the doors. Like that. We'll also do it over the vision slits of the cannons. And so with all that Blood Angels Red applied, we're then going to work on our last area, which is going to be all of the white. Now the colour we're going to be using for this is some thinned down Corax White. And what we're going to do here is we're basically going to highlight any areas that are going to be that are already kind of white or been kind of shaded just with the Tyran Blue, like that sort of thing on the cloth. And of course we've got the shoulder here as well. Like that. But what we're also going to do is anywhere where you see a little rune, like this one up here, I'm going to use the Corax White to pick this out. Like that sort of thing. And then the other thing we're going to do is going to add some runic writing to the front of the ship. Now, when you look at the front cover of the book Arkanaut's Oath, you can see the runes are here, just like they are normally on a frigate, and they are exactly the same as the ones that are on the box art if you look at the Games Workshop website. So we're just going to go right ahead and start applying these. It starts roughly here, just kind of towards the left hand side of this rivet just there. So we're going to start by putting a little dot of Corax White there and a little dot of Corax White just up there, like so. And that gives us the size of our characters. So now we're just going to start drawing them in. Like that. And then the next one is a little Y shape. Just like that. And then we're just going to continue along this way. So with all that Corax White applied, there's actually one thing I'm not 100% happy is finished, but it's these large windows and things. So what we're going to do is we're going to take some Ardcoat, I'm going to thin it down with a little bit of water. We're just going to apply this over the top. Like that, just to give it a nice deep red shine. And that will finish it off nicely. And so with our base now complete, our Arkanaut Frigate is now finished. And, well, lessons learned. This is one of those models that you absolutely should build in sub-assemblies. Because it's quite difficult to paint it fully assembled. We just about managed it, but yeah, this is one of those ones where I think maybe leaving the balloons and the crew off was probably a good idea. But, you know, you live and learn, I suppose. If you enjoyed this video, you love the channel and you'd like to support me further, you absolutely can do so by heading to patreon.com/warhipster, just like all of these wonderful, amazing people have done. And alternatively, you could become a YouTube channel member by clicking on the join button below, exactly like these fabulous folks have done scrolling up on the screen before you. There are so many of you out there that it really takes my breath away, and I cannot thank you enough for everything you do, as without you I wouldn't be able to keep making these Contrast Plus videos. And if you really like this video and you want to send me a little thanks, just click on the thanks button just below this video. Don't forget to share it, like it, comment on it, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel, and to make sure you stay up to date, don't forget to click the bell icon. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you all very soon in the next one. Happy wargaming.